Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion on this Tuesday morning. Let's go back to Friday real quick. So Friday, we started to get that big bounce. We had a monstrous move to the upside, call it 500 points for the upside on the Dow. And actually the NASDAQ, it went pretty well as well. It was up about 120 points. We had volatility trading on the low end. We closed out at 21. Then you go to yesterday and we talk about how the market's memory can be very, very short. Well, yesterday, it was time to sell the NASDAQ. That's exactly what we started to see early on. We had a big press to the downside. The Dow also contributing to the downside on that push. A lot of NASDAQ exposure, specifically when you're looking at some of these tech names that are also now in the Dow and some of the changes over time. But I will tell you this. So the Dow finished down about 325 points. It was worse, but that's about where we finished the day. You look over at the NASDAQ, down 300 plus points. That was a brutal day as well. So percentage wise, wow, what an incredible move on the NASDAQ to the downside. A lot of different reasons, obviously the Facebook story, but it wasn't just about Facebook. Everything, especially when you look at those big, huge bellwethers that are involved here, especially when you're looking at FANG, everything seemed to be under a little bit of pressure, and that pressure started to mount. And of course, you finished the day down. So energy, the one bright spot yesterday. As a matter of fact, each and every day we've watched the price of crude start to rise a little bit more and a little bit more. And yesterday we were pushing towards 78. We also had some decent volumes yesterday, not quite as good as Friday. Friday, we eclipsed through 42 million contracts. Yesterday, 38 million contracts. So a nice busy morning and afternoon and all the way into the close. We have been consistently active and watching these markets that have completely moved back and forth. You look at volatility. Well, we finished yesterday at the volatility index right around 23, towards the higher end, although we did get up into the 24s, towards the higher end of where we were on that range yesterday. But it's been back and forth and back and forth. Absolutely incredible. So energy has been the bright spot. Those beta energy names, even on that down day, absolutely explosive to the upside. Names like Devon, names like Diamondback, those names. Throw in Phillips 66, throw in Marathon. Marathon's been absolutely amazing. That all of those names that I just read off, about 4% or better yesterday in a terrible tape. So gives you a little bit of an idea. Technology under pressure. All those big names under pressure. Semiconductors also under pressure. They were getting pushed to the downside, down about 2.5% yesterday. Throw in a little bit of healthcare, you get the idea. It was almost everywhere that you could look. Peloton, one of those names that were getting absolutely crushed yesterday, down about 5%. Twitter down about 6%, maybe a little bit of something to do with Facebook and all the rest of what's going on in social media and some of the pressure there. And then throw in a name like Visa down 2.5%. Just a broad and different parts of the marketplace under pressure. So fast forward to today. Now you kick off today. As I said, the memory goes away pretty rapidly. We're starting the day out up about 150 points. Not so bad on the Dow, 60 points on the NASDAQ. Before you know it, top of the hour, we're up over 200 points on the Dow. We're up over 100 plus points, 115 points, call it, on the NASDAQ. And we didn't stop there. We just continue. As a matter of fact, last time I took a quick peek just minutes ago, we were up 440 points on the Dow and the NASDAQ trailing along as well, but up over 150, 160 points. So you get the idea, this movement that we are seeing back and forth and just absolutely incredible. That is the markets that we are in right now. We talk about crude all the time. Now, crude actually eclipsed 79. So what does that mean? It means the energy stocks absolutely were exploding. Early on, they were up about a 1.25% or so, leading the markets. The rest of the markets just kind of shifting around. Last I looked, actually, I was looking at energy up well over 2%, financials well over 2%. Financials, a great big flip. Started off the day in positive territory, but not so much, up maybe quarter to 0.5%. And then all of a sudden the acceleration to the upside as we were looking at the 10-year started off the day 1.5, then at 1.52, getting a little bit of movement there as well. Maybe that's helping to kick it in. And how about Bitcoin? Bitcoin up and eclipsed and holding up near that 50,000 level. So an incredibly nice, strong move for Bitcoin as well. Volatility just keeps getting pressed down and down and down. We started the day after finishing yesterday in the 23s, started the day in the 22s, now in the 21s. That's something that we'll be watching very, very closely throughout the session to see how does volatility start to change a little bit, and are we going to see it somehow break back underneath 20? I think right now, probably a little doubtful, but you know what? It's a long day and we're already starting off the day with the kind of movement that we've had. So it certainly is a possibility. Netflix, that's been strong early on. Those beta energy names that I bring up, Marathon, once again, absolutely an explosive move to the upside. That's why we talk about these things. And I don't know how many times we've talked about energy, energy, energy. It started off November last year. It's continued and continues and continues. We see each and every day XOP options. We talked about that here. XLE options. We've talked about that here. Multiple hits yesterday there and across individual names in the energy space as well. So that has certainly been a really high area in terms of the unusual. And boy, have they been right. Oil went from 38 now to 79 in the last 11 months. And along the way, sure, there's been pullbacks. We talk about it all the time. If you're a beta name, you're going to move beta. You're going to move that way up to the upside. You also get that stare, that move to the downside as well. So Chinese stocks, they were even up a little bit early. Got two different worlds right now that I'm going to throw out to you for my unusual. And then I'll be on the halftime report today with Wapner and the gang. So DD Global. Not a name that we see a whole lot of. It's one of the Chinese names. It's trading about 755, so just a little bit over 7.5. They are going extremely short term. October 8th expiring. That's going to be Friday. They bought 6,000 of the October 8th, and that's the expiration date, 8 calls. So October 8th, the 8 calls is what they were buying. 4 cents to 8 cents. A very interesting trade. As a matter of fact, just to get you inside of my head for just a moment, which you probably don't want to be in, I look at that. I'd actually rather look at something like the 7.5 calls to give myself a little bit better opportunity if I actually believe in what we're seeing here and some of the unusual option activity in DD. And as I said, we start today seeing some of the Chinese names actually performing pretty reasonably well with the backdrop of this huge bounce that we're getting today. Secondly, going to stick with energy. And if you've been watching, last night I was on Fast Money with the gang, Mel and the gang, and my final trade was Oxy. We had some option buying in Oxy yesterday. We had XLE twice. We had XOP. We've got energy out the wazoo in terms of how much volumes we are seeing day in and day out. I'm going to give you XLE again. Now, remember, when I talk about ETFs, I very infrequently like to be in ETFs. I am in ETFs occasionally, but I try to go towards something else that I think will move with better beta than the ETFs. I'm not into the passive, I'm into the aggressive, as you can probably tell. So aggressively, I oftentimes will move to Exxon, Chevron, maybe it's Marathon, maybe it's Diamondback, whatever the case may be, but I'm going to do something individually in energy that would play along with the idea that we're seeing some upside. So what is the upside we're seeing? Stock trading or ETF trading 55.70. Buyer of 2,000, much smaller than we've seen, but this is just the beginning of the day. We've seen some monstrous option trading in here, some 5-digit option trading in here in terms of the volume. This is only 2,000, but they're buying November 60s. So that stuck out to me at $1.10. They've been buying, they've been buying, they've been buying. We've seen October, we've seen November, we've seen out to December. So we are continually seeing this upside bias that we are seeing in the energy space. Another very, very interesting day, an interesting start. We going to hold on to these gains, or are we going to start to see a little bit of sell-off? We'll see as this plays out. But I will also see you before that on the halftime report with Scott and the gang. You guys have a great day of trading, and I'll see you later on.